So Amon-Ra St.Brown, he talks about Detroit Lions offense, said you have to be patient. Everybody is going to have their hiccups in the offense, and fans are going to have to be patient. And he's been here from day one, from Anthony Lynn to Dan Campbell to Ben Johnson, to John Morton and back to Dan Campbell, now to Drew Petzing. So he's been through a couple of offensive coordinators and play callers, and he understands it's just patience. Patience. He understands that Petzing has to learn them. They have to learn Drew Petzing. And it's really going to be what they really like, And what I really got from Brad Holmes in the end of the season press conference, what I really got from him was he basically said that, it was a lack of preparation and leadership coming from the offensive coach. So, but yeah, I think it's going to be an adjustment. Petzing comes from Arizona, where really their primary thing was to get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. and, Kyler Murray running it. And now here, you got a couple more toys to play with. Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta as of right now. What's the big fella's name? Isaac Tesla, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra. So it's going to be interesting. So he has more at his disposal. He can be more creative, or he can do a lot of the same things that he did in Arizona. But now you just have more targets to do it with, right? He's shown the ability to do great things with Jacoby Brissett, which Goff is very comparable to Brissett in a lot of ways, athletically, stature, in a lot of different ways. So he's had success with guys like Kyler Murray, who's a more of an anomaly when it comes to quarterback, and then the natural drop back quarterback. He's had success with them. So he's had success with the natural drop back quarterback. So I feel like it's gonna be interesting. But Amon-Ra St.Brown is right. Expectations need to be tempered. It's going to take time, learning a new playbook, learning new verbiage, or does he look what you already have and we're going to build on that, or we going to fuse something else? So I know it got to be hard to keep learning playbook after playbook after playbook. And every offensive coordinator, they look to find star plays here and there and in the offseason. But, you got to get comfortable with somebody else. And that was kind of the thing about pulling it from John Morton. He must have been doing a pretty bad job behind the scenes. Because you don't want to keep pulling guys and pushing guys and pulling guys and pushing guys and you know what I'm saying? Like this, not this. You get an offensive coordinator. Nah, these dudes need the ability to get comfortable, the verbiage right, to know what he wants. And at some point, what they expect. It's just a lot of little nuances that they expect, and the verbiage just to be a little bit different. So constantly having to learn the playbook, it's going to be tough. So it's going to be ups and downs in this. But you have an established, play caller, a play caller that they feel aligns to what they believe that they need. And I like it. Like, the more I research them, the more I like it. But people look at it as, well, he wasn't successful in Arizona, he's not going to be successful here. But I pointed this out in the previous videos. Chuck Daly wasn't successful in Cleveland. It wasn't because he wasn't a great coach already or a good coach already. He wasn't successful from the standpoint of Cleveland just didn't have the soldiers to carry out the mission. He came to Detroit, and he had the soldiers to carry out the mission, or they acquired the ones they needed. And he was a phenomenal coach. So I think people need to realize that. Tom Brady, his draft stock went down there because Michigan didn't believe in him. They believed in Drew Henson, one of the greatest athletes in the state of Michigan. They wanted to push that, but the honest truth was Tom Brady was the better guy. But if people say, well, he couldn't barely beat out Drew Henson, and he wasn't, but they didn't. The Patriots looked at what he can do, the film, the mind. So, there's diamonds in the rough. And it's your job to identify them. Ben Johnson, was a diamond in the rough. And Dan Campbell seen it. He's seen it. So, my whole thing is, oh, man, he wasn't. You can get established play callers and it don't work. You know, and it doesn't work. But he's right. But you got somebody who's ran the show. And guess what? He's ran the show with, you know, one of the more unique, and that's the word I'm looking for, unique quarterbacks in Kyler Murray. Then you do a whole 180 and you go to a classic drop back quarterback in Jacoby Brissett. And he found a way to still put up some successful numbers on a team that's in a transition. You know, and now I've transitioned all the way out of the Kyler Murray era and sent him to Minnesota, which you will see him a couple times this year. So I mean, I think he's St.Brown is tempering expectations. Like people just think it's like Madden, and nah, man, you gotta learn, you know, the verbiage, where he like this ran at, where, you know, oh, how do okay, on this down, I can adjust and get to the sticks, or, oh no, we gotta run it this way, because if you run it that way, the safety can drop down and need it, the spacing, you know what I'm saying? All that type of stuff. There are gonna be ups and downs. You know, but you hope that they can hit a groove. But when your foundation is hard-nosed and running the football, I mean, it makes things a lot more easier if you're successful doing that, because you're gonna start to see, DBs cheat. You're gonna start to see stack boxes, and when you start to see DBs cheat and be on their toes instead of flat-footed, or, you know, when you start to see them really sinking in and really trying to jump, you know, that's when you start to get the looks that you want to get. Look, one-on-ones. You start play action, you start to see, guys break free. So, now you got an offensive coordinator that believes in versatility, but also believes in running the football and getting downhill and getting nasty downhill. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if it works. And there's no guarantee it'll work, but because you got, you're probably going to get a new rookie tackle. You got a new center, we'll see what happens with Sam Laporta. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Lions move, honestly. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they move it, man. It's going to be interesting, but keep it real. I like Drew Petzing a lot, but we gonna wait and see. But hey, I appreciate y'all for watching the video. I would like to know what you think in the comment section, man. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how it goes. So I think they tempering expectations. Take time. Peace.